Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, gang. How are you doing? How are you doing? And you doing? And you in the back, and you way over the top, and you all around the front. We appreciate each and every one of you for joining us this week. It is time. Time for what you say, Michael Buffet. It is time for another edition of This Week in SEC Football. I am one half of the host crew, Mr. Fingaz, coming to you live all the way from Zagnif Central in the heart of Oklahoma City. And that fella right there is the brother from another, the sexy mother Hubbard, the ace of base in the place, in your face. I am very happy to be here. It is my favorite part of the game, the halftime. I've recently been placing cards of garbage. I got something that requires disposal because tomorrow is trash day. Collin P from the DMV in the SEC on the mic with me talking about University of Georgia football. You see? Bars. How you doing, bro?
Oh man, I can't be any better. I'm done. Fantastic. What it is, showbiz with you? What's going on with you?
Oh man, you know how we do, man. We relaxed this week. We watched the game. We watched a couple of games. Texas A&M, so close. So close. Funny Man was on point. Oh God, I was dying watching the Jermaine Funny Man Johnson. I was watching his video.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know who Jermaine Funny Man Johnson is, this guy is a huge University of Alabama fan, and he's also a content creator all over Facebook and YouTube. That is the guy that we got this video right here from this clip.
Ain't nobody worried about no Georgia.
Yeah, he was hilarious. He was hilarious. His commentating with the Bama game was just he's like, "Oh, it's okay. We're Bama. We're gonna do what we're gonna do." I said, I almost got him on copyright infringement because he said we don't do what we're gonna do. I said, "It's too close to what I say. Too close."
Hey, I told you, bro. You better trademark that joint. That's your saying. We got them T-shirts. We don't want to get in no. We want to make sure we get all the money from that. By the way, speaking of, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get yourself a Bama Does What Bama Do T-shirt, and if you missed that, that was a reference when we were talking about Alabama last year, where my illustrious co-host dropped this gem on us, and it's been a part of the show ever since.
And your Bama does what Bama do.
And we got the Bama Does What Bama Do T-shirt. So if you would please go ahead and hit that corner right over there where the QR code is and visit the Etsy.com shop. The website that's underneath it, because I can't talk today apparently out loud. Hit that little thing right there, and that will show you where you can go and you can get that gear. We already got some folks jumping in the chat. I am assuming that that's our boy. Oh wow, Nathan Snell beating Sean onto the chat today. How you doing, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. Congratulations to your Ravens for pulling that one out. Sorry about the one with you guys with the Terps. That was a rough call. I wouldn't know anything about getting a rough call when playing a team in a big game whatsoever on a pass interference call that wasn't a pass interference call. But we're not going to talk about that.
Or roughing the passer.
Yeah, roughing the passer. That's what it was. That's a different one. That was different. How come you didn't call it pass interference? Oh, that was different. I threw some. I tried that. I threw together a little recipe. Tried a little something because the boy is coming over in a couple of evenings to hang with us, and I promised him some ribs because he bailed his pops out a couple times. The keys locked in the car, but we ain't gonna talk about that at all. So we're gonna jump right into it here. Let me get back in these chats real quick. Yeah, and so do our Falcons, sir. And we just keep losing key pieces, but we'll talk about that another time. That's another time for another show. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. The boys did what they needed to do. Everybody's been saying we need to, the first couple of games we looked really solid, we looked complete, and then we just kind of muddled our way. We muddled our way through the last couple, man. We just muddled our way through the last couple. We slept walk through Kent State. We slept walk through Missouri. Some people say we didn't beat South Carolina by enough, but we were still dominant. So
Yeah.
we showed up at home against Auburn and laid 42 down on them, 42-10 at home. Big win. Collin, how you feeling about this one, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's still, I mean, it was a shell of what we started off the season as being. Those first two games we started out with a house of fire, and then we kind of got lackadaisical. But look, as you said, the next two games, Kent State and then Missouri, almost lost that game, and found some kind of a sense of urgency and came back and won that game. But yeah, this one again, like I said, it's kind of unorthodox for us to be that second half team that we're not used to being. We're coming from behind. You know what I mean? We're usually playing very well the first half and kind of laying back and kind of being conservative on the second half. But now it seems to have flipped. But it just proved to me that we need to go back to what we're good at, running the ball. And that's what happened. We started running the ball, running the rock, and we started getting 5-6 yards per carry and that kind of stuff. Look at it, look at the new guys, look at Edwards and look at Robinson. Those guys were balling out. So yeah, I think we need to stick with that formula. But Stetson was getting pressure, but he was he was
Yeah,
being hurt a lot.
we were definitely. Now we actually averaged 7.5 yards per carry, and a big chunk of that was due to the big run by Stetson Bennett, the big scamper, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. That's one of the things that Georgia has definitely been known for. I mean, we've had a handful of receivers come through Georgia and be really good, but nobody really be stand outish in the league. Although we think G Pick, Hines Ward, of course, but we think George Pickens is definitely going to be a good standout receiver. Um, Mo Massaquoi was on his way, but then he had a very, very uh, tragic injury that ended his career. Lost most of his left hand in a four-wheel accident. But we got back to doing what Georgia does best, and that's run the ball. Branson Robinson, 98 yards and a touchdown. Dejon Edwards, 83 yards and 3 touchdowns. That boy runs like his hair on fire, and his hind parts are catching
and running people over. So I mean,
literally bowling them over. Like we had like Herschel and Rodney Hampton since those days. You know what I mean? Like there hasn't been a bowl you over back. We've had a lot of guys. We had a lot of finesse guys like Chubb and Michelle. Zeus was a bowl you over guy, but Zeus really didn't have a breakout season until last year. So
yeah, what impressed me though was the offensive line getting up off the ground and pushing the pile. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that actually happened. Edwards was going forward, and then the lineman, got up. Those boys got up and pushed. We got a good extra 10 yards on some of those runs.
Yeah. Now Nathan makes a very valid point. Auburn does not have a lot of key players, but I've seen teams. Listen, I would take that, but for the fact that we won a national championship last year with a backup quarterback. Alabama's starting quarterback is out right now, and while he's not the strongest passer on the face of the planet, the boy can ball.
He's fast.
As long as he can make plays with his feet and with that offensive line, he definitely can. They're all right. They're going to be okay till Bryce gets back. Last year, Texas A&M's starting quarterback was injured, and their backup quarterback came in and beat Alabama. So I know that they're dealing with some key injuries. It's unfortunate. It is very unfortunate. I want to give these teams the benefit of the doubt, but we saw Will Levis goes down with an injury in the game last week against, I believe it was Ole Miss, and Kentucky can't generate anything. And that's the kind of thing is just I realize the one thing that I do realize is that not every team has that depth like an Alabama has. Not every team has that depth at all positions. Like I would say Georgia's pretty deep. You see, we were struggling at running back. We gave the new guys the rock, and they're out there running like they're out there running
Yeah, I
like they're
mean,
running for their lives.
yeah.
So
If you look at Ashford though, I mean, he didn't have I mean, like turnover. As far as turnovers go, I mean, like he had one fumble. I mean, actually two fumbles. He lost one of them. He didn't have any interceptions. He had a touchdown. He didn't have that many yards, like 165 yards, I guess is what he had passing. 9 carries for 52 yards. I mean, at his longest run was 17 yards. So, I mean, it was not because of necessarily mistakes. It was just they couldn't generate any offense with our defense, and we were scoring more than they were at more times. It wasn't because of any kind of turnover. I didn't think.
you know what? I'm Nate. I'm not disagreeing with you, sir. But what I am saying is that there are some teams that are deeper that have more depth, because not only did we win with backup quarterbacks last year, we also had to win. We also had Pickens went out with an injury,
Oh yeah.
and that's when A.D. Mitchell stepped up, and that's when Lad McConkey stepped up. We had Mitchell went out, and that's when was it Mitchell that went out? Which one was it that had the ACL, MCL last
It
year?
was Mitchell. I think it was Mitchell. Yeah, it was Mitchell.
Not Mitchell, not Mitchell. I'm thinking about Donovan Mitchell. Milton went out
Oh,
with a knee injury last year, and that's when Zeus stepped up. So I'm not saying that these other teams don't have multiple injuries. And I know I do realize it gets to a point when the battle of attrition. The biggest problem for Auburn is that right now Auburn is a program that is in a state of flux. They had Gus Malzahn, who wasn't the greatest coach, but he was at least getting them to 9 or 10 wins a year, which unfortunately was not enough for the boosters. But when they got rid of Gus and then they brought in Harsin, and Harsin has this whole quarterback controversy going on, and the offense is in a state of shambles and the defense is in a state of shambles, it's really hard to get the caliber of kids that you need to come to your program in order to bolster your program. That's why you have programs like Alabama that are just loaded up. Like Nick Saban, I guarantee you was loaded up back to his freshman class. Again, I guarantee you Ryan Day's recruiting class is backed up at least to his sophomore players. Again, I guarantee you Kirby right now has Carson Beck waiting in the wings, and Carson is a nasty dude, man. Carson's got wheels too, and he's got a cannon, and he doesn't have a whole lot of mileage on him. You got Gunner Stockton, who they say is slicing and dicing up the practice squad in practice, and he's going to be probably getting some playtime next year. Now, I can't really speak to Brock Vandergriff. Hadn't really been all that impressive, but again, he hadn't gotten all that much playing time. I'm definitely not trying to negate what you say, what you're saying, Nate. I just think what it comes down to is circumstance and the prominence of the Auburn program as it is right now. Right now, they're getting people just on name brand recognition alone and not quality of program. And sometimes what that means is your backups are just not as good as your first stringers. I mean, just look at Oklahoma. Look at Oklahoma and what happened to them on Saturday.
Yeah, but let me pose this question to Nate. I mean, what injuries are you actually talking about that would make this game change? Like, what make this game be, a different game altogether? I mean, you got Tank in there, you got Ashford. I mean, like, who would you rather in there?
Well, the biggest is of course is Finley being out. That's the biggest one.
TJ?
Yeah. I mean, TJ Finley obviously is the biggest. And that's not to take anything away from Robbie Ashford, but
no.
Well, no. You know what? All things considered, I think TJ Finley and Robbie Ashford are pretty much equal.
I was going to say they're pretty much the same level.
They're two very good quarterbacks, but they can be a little turnover prone if you press them hard enough. Robbie Ashford has just shown a little more flash and splash, and who knows, that just could be because he doesn't have the mileage. I mean, TJ Finley got a lot of miles put on him last year. A lot. I mean, he had to come in and rescue the game and to rescue the team in the game opener. Nick's got hurt, and he had that Iron Bowl. I know you have an entire offseason to recover, but you get beat up for an entire year. You don't. I mean, it takes you a good couple of years if you get beat up like that to make a full recovery. So
but Ashford, that being said, Ashford was their leading rusher at 52 yards, 9 carries, 52 yards, and Tank had 10 carries for 19. So I mean, and Tank was virtually a non-factor, and Jacquez Hunter was, only a yard, had only one more yard than Tank did on 5 carries.
Yeah, I think we can chalk that up to the defense. The defense 100% stepped up. They still weren't as dominant. They still weren't as dominant as the previous year's squad, but they definitely stepped up. They're playing in front of a home crowd. They had to give the home crowd a good show, and that's what they did.
And let's be honest, we needed that kind of game, honestly, after the last 2 we've had. So we needed that
Yeah.
kind of a.
We needed something to be dominant to take us into the Vanderbilt game, and we'll definitely get to the Vanderbilt game a little bit later on. I know Nate wanted to ask us about that, but let's talk about something that we've been looking for. There's been a facet of the University of Georgia, style of play that has been seriously lacking this season. The fans have been looking for it. The analysts have been looking for it. People have been talking. I mean, the color commentators have been talking about it all season. And that is the run game.
Yeah.
If Miami back in the day was DBU, Georgia has been RBU for many, many, many moons now. And we're going all the way back to Todd. We go back and then if you want to go further back to that, you want to talk about Herschel, who was I don't know who followed in Herschel's footsteps, but then we had Garrison Hurst and we had Rodney Hampton. So we had some beast running backs through the what's that?
Atlanta's Gary.
Yes. We had some beast running backs come through Georgia. 100%. Didn't our boy Terrell Davis, did he also play at the University?
Yeah, he did. Yep. Terrell Davis, yep. He was there.
There you go. So, Georgia's been RBU for a long time, and RBU has been pretty much non-existent. They've been trying to feed the ball to Milton and McIntosh. I think Milton is still kind of nursing his injury back into full game speed. We don't know what's going on with him, but we hope that he gets back to his season form that he had last year, where he was literally slicing and dicing and breaking tackles and speeding around, catching the edge. Yeah. When they seal off the edge and he'd catch that edge and he'd scamper downfield for 20, 30 yards, we need that. That's something we definitely need. But the run game definitely came back, and we've been talking about Branson Robinson since his picture popped up on the internet with him looking like a professional bodybuilder coming out of high school. We already talked about this young man and how excited we were to see him play, and boy, was Saturday his breakout day. He's one of those kids that he just give me a chance and I'm going to show you what I can do. And he definitely showed Kirby what he could do. And we've already seen Dejon Edwards and what Dejon Edwards can do. We've seen him for the last 2 games just open things up. Dejon had 3 touchdowns. Branson had 1. Kenny McIntosh actually got himself 1 also. Mm-hmm. So now again, here's something that to move on. And before we move on to our next segment, we're glad to see the run game come back. We had 292 total yards rushing, which is something we haven't had in a very long time. And that's just between 5 rushers. So you figure those 5 guys each put in, I mean, you break it down, it breaks down about 60 yards per carry per guy if each of them ran it off a long one. But we'll kind of dissect that a little bit later on. Before we go another further, ladies and gentlemen, we want to give you a little something from our primary sponsor of the show. It is our guy, Sid Swinton, with Squid Ribs Cards, and we will be right back after this. Stay tuned. That's our guy, Sid Swinton, Squid Rips Cards. You can find him on Sundays in the off season on Let's Talk Football in the morning on Sundays with his wife, Ash Swinton. You can also find him on Let's Talk Fantasy Football with his wife, Ash Swinton, and their good buddy, David Wright, who's also part of the Let's Talk Football family of podcasts. Get at him. He's on TikTok. That is his TikTok tag. That's a mouthful for your TikTok tag right there. How about that? That's his TikTok tag, Squid Ribs Cards. Get at him today. He's live a couple times a week doing brand new polls straight from the box. Want them, ask for them, get them, got them good, and that's all done. He'll get you squared away today. Thank you for being the sponsor
of this week in UGA football. So we're gonna move right on to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're talking about the University of Georgia and their performance against the Auburn Tigers. We saw the run game do well, but guess what? Where it seems like with us as of late, if one side dominates, the other side suffers. Stetson Bennett, again, only 208 yards, 22 of 32, 6.5 yards per, no passing touchdowns. What's going on? You got the best tight end in America on your squad. The kid, they were screaming for the kid for Heisman last year, and he got 2 receptions the entire game. What's going on with that?
Yeah,
I mean, he's still our leading receiver, but he only caught 2 passes for 36 yards. So what's really going on?
Dude, it's beyond me because we got 2. We got Big O and we got him, and Bowers has been kind of a non-factor. After the Oregon game, and to be honest with you, I don't even really I can't remember what happened in the South Carolina game, but after those 2 games, it just seemed like he wasn't in the picture at all. I don't know whether their secondary is covering him, doubling him up, tripling him up, whatever. But
I don't think they are, man.
But my opinion is Stetson. We saw him. Stetson's not himself. And actually, I read today that he got slammed pretty good. Beat up pretty good in the Mizzou game. But I'm not saying that's an excuse. But then again, we watched him overthrow at least 2 wide open receivers that I know of, and I think one of them might have been Bowers on Saturday. But
he definitely overthrew Lad McConkey. He was wide open. If he could have put it in the bread basket, that would have been it would have been 49-10.
Oh yeah, but I've got nothing. I got zippy. I have no idea what's going on.
I don't know either, man. All I know is that we got Vanderbilt next week, and then we have a bye week, and then we come out of that bye week and we wind up playing, I believe it's Tennessee. No, we play Florida. And then after Florida, we got Tennessee. And then after Tennessee, we got Mississippi State. And then after Mississippi State, we got Kentucky. And I'm pretty sure Will Levis will be back in time for that game in Kentucky. So, and we're going to be playing. Actually, Tennessee's coming to Georgia. I thought we were playing at Tennessee. Tennessee's coming to Georgia. Then we go to Mississippi State and we go to Kentucky. So, we got 1, 2, 3 more home games. Vandy, Florida, Tennessee. We can't afford to drop a single one of them. And as hot as Tennessee is, the one thing that they would love to do would be to upset the Dogs at home in Sanford Stadium in front of the home crowd.
Yeah,
that would be, honestly, that would be the college football championship for them to beat the returning national champions.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be absolutely insane. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why he's struggling. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I can't imagine there would be any miscommunication. You would think if it was that bad, then Kirby would have said something about it in practice, or even considered swapping some guys out. I've seen Kirby do some stuff where he'll bring a couple guys in for another play. Not very often. He doesn't rely on a whole lot of trick plays, but I could even see that happening, and I haven't seen it. All I know is the reason that we were able to win a game and only throw for 208 yards is because we were playing against Auburn. And speaking of Auburn,
most of his yards came in the second half. First half was just it was insane. He was getting nothing. We got the second half. So
I don't even know. I honestly don't know. We can't afford to play patty cake with Florida because Anthony Richardson is a turnover machine, but he's going to sling the ball around the field.
Yeah,
we can't afford to goof around with him. We definitely can't goof with Tennessee because Hendon Hooker is playing out of his mind right now. They're on a mission. They might not get to the playoffs, but they are on a mission. I think this year their goal is, at best. Every team's goal should be to play for the championship. But honestly, I think the fans' best expectation right now is New Year's 6, and they're well on their way to doing that right now.
Now, do you think? I've been thinking about this too. At the beginning of the season, Stetson looked, like I said, he looked polished, he looked pretty poised, and that kind of stuff. And maybe him getting slammed a little bit around in the Missouri game. I have no explanation for the Kent State game, but I mean, do you think he's being too cautious? Do you think those overthrows are part of him being too cautious? You haven't seen too much of him throwing it away too much. He has a couple times, but I mean, like he's not necessarily forcing it. I mean, there's been a couple times he had been forcing it and had been lucky not to be have a turnover and get picked off. But it just looks to me like he's being too careful. Do you see that or no?
To a degree, yeah. It's just I think a lot of these young quarterbacks are also falling victim to the Patrick Mahomes syndrome. They see Patty Mahomes doing stuff and they want to do it too. Like I've seen him trying to sling a couple of sidearms. I mean, the only people that were doing that before Pat Mahomes was like Aaron Rodgers,
Stafford.
Aaron Rodgers and Stafford. Because Stafford was notorious for that. He probably got
Absolutely.
that from watching Brett Favre play. But now you got everybody trying to, trying to throw the ball sidearm and do all kinds of crazy stuff. All I know is I just want a quarterback who's consistent enough that they won't make any turnovers, because in the SEC, turnovers are the name of the game.
Yep.
And so turnovers will make or break you. Just ask Alabama, who does what they do. They almost dropped one to Texas A&M because they had, 2 fumbles in the span of 3 series?
He had 2 fumbles and 1 interception.
Two fumbles and an interception in the span of 4 series.
Yeah.
And that was the difference maker, because those first 2 turnovers allowed Texas A&M to come back and score. If the team comes back and scores on you that got a turnover, you need to not turn the ball over. You know that they can score if you turn the ball over. And these are teams that can score on you if you turn the ball over, especially if you turn it over in your own territory. Some stuff that really needs to be worked on. But they managed to pull it out, and the Dogs returned to number 1 in the polls. I saw as of yesterday evening, we are now number 1 again in the SEC. In the SEC, oh Lord. Hey, 26 minutes in, I'm doing better. I normally get one in the first 5 minutes. We are now number 1 in the AP polls. The Dogs are back atop the polls. Now, you know how I feel about that. I really give less than I give less than 2 snaps up in a circle, in 3 snaps in a Z formation, as they used to say at Men on Film on In Living Color. Shouts out to the greatest sketch comedy show of the 1990s right there, In Living Color, with the entire Wayans family and the greats like Jamie Foxx, Tommy Davidson, Jim Carrey. Yeah, if you like them, that's where they came from. Even J-Lo came from off of there. The Wayans brothers. All of them. If you ever watched and liked the Scary Movie, listen to a J-Lo record, laughed your face off at Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, any of those movies.
Don't Be a Menace.
Don't Be a Menace. Yes. Do we have you can thank In Living Color. But yeah, for real, we're back to number 1. You know how I feel about that, man. For me, that's more rat poison for me than anything else.
I'm with you. Totally. They could have kept that. I didn't even want. And then the surprise for me is like Ohio State jumping Bama, which I mean I kind of could see.
Well, to be completely honest, I'm going to say this: I have all faith and surety in my Dogs making the playoff, at least making the conference championship. I have faith that the Dogs can actually make the playoffs again this year. I have faith that the Dogs can actually make the national championship this year. But overall, right now, going into week 7, is it? I believe it is.
7.
Yeah. Yep. Going into week 7, the most complete team in the CFB. I'm sorry. FBS, I'm sorry, CFP. The CFP is everybody. The number 1 team, the most complete team in FBS right now is Ohio State. Defense is hitting on all cylinders. Offense is playing on all cylinders, and you have a quarterback in CJ Stroud who has thrown for 6. He threw for 6 touchdowns this past Saturday. But hold on, he has done that 2 other times this season. He has played 6 games this season, and in half of those games, he has thrown for 6 touchdowns. Yeah, he's thrown for 18 touchdowns. No, what is it? Yeah, he's thrown for 18 touchdowns in just 3 games alone. Plus, you throw the other ones along. He's definitely on pace to have a 50 touchdown season this year. Seriously, his name is
I know I get it. Everybody wants the Stetson for Heisman, although I think some of that talk has died down after the last few weeks. Forget
Yeah.
that. The only
I
guy
don't
on my
think that's
Heisman,
the
I'm
conversation.
going to quote. I'm going to quote our fellow content creator Uncle Lou. Only name on the Heisman candidate list for me right now is C.J. Stroud, and maybe your boy Sanders, Shador Sanders, Deion's son.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can agree with that. I mean, I mean, like, I don't know if you could take, them playing Toledo last week as, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, do you take that into account at all? Or I mean, a good quarterback is a good quarterback, regardless of who they play. I mean, like,
Bingo. Now I tell you, he probably won't get the looks because they are an FCS. They're not even an FCS team. Yeah, they are. I believe they
no,
are.
Toledo is. I believe Toledo. Yeah, Toledo is.
No, Shador Sanders plays for Jackson State. The kid from Jackson State who's the quarterback there. I don't know if that's Deion's son or not, but he's balling out down there. I believe that is Deion's son, but he is balling out down there. He's balling out, but I don't think he's throwing 6 touchdowns a game. But I think
Yeah.
he's definitely in the running. And Jackson State is also undefeated. And did you see Coach Prime getting the dust up with the coach from Alabama State?
Oh yeah, did you hear what he said? I sent you what the coach said. He said he was that Deion was walking around, never said anything to him before the game.
Oh yeah, I saw
And
that.
he said, "Don't come up to me and try to bro hug me, after the game." And he said nothing before the game. I was like, "Oh, okay, all right."
Oh, that's what we doing now. Okay, I see where we're going with
He
that.
pushed him off. I was like, "All right."
Yeah. And Deion tried to give him a little shove. Have my
Well,
chick.
I mean, the other coach pushed his hand off of him, pushed Deion's hand off of him. So yeah,
I gotta ask a question. We got a quote in the comments. We got a comment on the Facebook feed. My home Michael Ward says, "Have my chickens hatched yet?" I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. That might be a reference to something we said earlier. Or something I said on my Facebook feed. Mr. Ward, you're gonna have to give me a little more context there because I slept a few times since I probably slept a few times since whatever that was the original.
They probably did. They probably did. They really, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take another brief pause for the cause. We did mention our good buddy Swiss from the Let's Talk Football family shows. We also had our good buddy Nathan Snell from Big Nate Sports Podcast also in the comments. There are a ton of shows in the Let's Talk Football family of sports podcasts, and you can catch one of them just about every night of the week. Sometimes there's 2 a day. So we're just going to show you where you can find them. And Usher, what are they going to do when I start playing the video? Okay, y'all do what Usher says. Watch this. We'll be right back. There you go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That is definitely a large slate of shows that you can check out. I think I know what Mr. Ward's talking about. By that, by the way, shout out to Mr. Ward, the director of one of the greatest high school bands in the history of high school bands in the city of Savannah. There were multiple bands in the public high school system at that point that were prominent. They were prominent, and when you went to the Battle of the Bands every year, everybody went to see 3 bands. They went to see Alfred Eli Beach over on the east side of town. They went to see Savannah High School which was just north of Midtown headed into not quite in the historic district. And they came to see the mighty marching Knights of Windsor Forest, my alma mater, class of '88. In praise of Windsor, our voices we raise in light, its shrine of wisdom. I still know half the lyrics to the alma mater, but we had a bad old band, and Mr. Ward was definitely the reason behind that. He kept that band high, he kept that band tight, and they were one of the best bands in the city. And I don't care what anybody say, we had the best band in the city. We had this. They had this routine at halftime. The drum major would come out and go, "Band!" The band would go, "What?" And then he'd go, "Band!" And then the band would lean back, "What?" And people would lose their mind. The marching Windsor Knights. They just start playing the fight song. Oh, I'm getting crazy thinking about it right now. But yeah,
man,
shout out.
We had kind of the same thing, but we had the band horns up, and then we go with pride, horns up with a band of pride. So we do with pride, horns up, and then but we had the on the warpath. That was we were the Indians, so it was a FSU.
Okay, all right. I said, wait a minute, y'all were playing Hail. Let me find out y'all were playing Hail to the Redskins.
that was our song. I mean, that was it. That was our fight song.
Well, we've so we were just talking before the break. We were talking about the Dogs being number one in the polls. Just to wrap this whole thing up, I'm going to give my 2 cents here. I think we could have stayed at number 2. I would be happy just because. It like I said, it's rat poison, and I've seen a lot of teams start. I've seen it year in and year out. Team gets the number one, and fan base goes nuts, and they start hyping the guys up, and the guys start believing the hype. And the very next week, bop, they get smacked in the mouth, and they didn't have any other quality wins to begin with, but they were undefeated coming in and had a lot of hype behind them. And then the committee drops them like the 6 or 7, and they just can't. They can't bring that whole thing back. They can't bring that whole thing back. So, yeah, I definitely feel that we could have stayed number 2. I'd have even been happy with number 3. What about you, sir?
No, I agree. I mean, like I would have stayed 2, 3. I mean, I wouldn't have been mad at that. I mean, getting number 1, I don't really care. I mean, it really doesn't matter at this point. I mean, when the CFP polls come out, that's when you kind of start looking at it a little bit deeper.
That's the one I like. And even with the CFP polls, as long as you can stay in the top 4, just with the way the format is, if you can stay in the top 4 and not drop a rotten egg on a Saturday, you're in good shape. I mean, all Cincinnati had to do last year was not lose, and they didn't.
Right. Yeah.
And they got in the playoffs. Absolutely. And I think, say what you want to say about Group of 5. I think it was well deserved because Cincinnati played very well last year.
Oh yeah, they did. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
the thing with that is, I mean, like what you said though, you said about being number 1. I mean, I tended to think it does actually play a part in these kids, head. I mean, it seems to me, I can't think of any other, any other excuse or any other reason why we're playing, why we played those 2 games that we did, why we're playing the way we are. But I mean, something's got to change because we can't. Sometimes we have the luxury of one side of the ball picking up for slack the other side of the ball, which is a great luxury to have, but it's not going to happen all the time. I mean, we're going to have to sew up what's going on, both sides.
100%. I agree with you 100% on that. So we're going to move on to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen. We had a remarkable week of college football, a lot of close games that we didn't expect to be close. One big upset with Kentucky losing yet again. Now, of course, Will Levis was out, but one of the things that we look for every week, ladies and gentlemen, are plays of the week. So this week, Collin, I'm going to come to you first, and then I'm going to. I had a question in the comments there from Mr. Ward that I'm going to address in a minute if he's still watching. But I'm going to come to you first. Who's your play of the week, sir?
I know this is this weekend UGA, but I've got to go with that Stetson 64-yard run. Granted, the hole was pretty large, but he did have about 4 or 5 guys running after him pretty quickly, but he managed to outrun them all. So I mean. That's what he needed. He wasn't doing too much either with his feet or with his arms. I mean, that showed that he was still in the game, and he showed the quickness that he has. I mean, that would be the play of the game for me. He definitely
Yeah,
needed that.
I actually had that up there because I knew one of the two of us was going to pick that one because I didn't tell you which one. I didn't tell you which one I was going. We kind of bounced some off each other. But the play of the week for me, how about our boy Malachi Starks comes up with another interception this week? Malachi Starks is eating this year. If
Yeah.
nobody else on that defense wants to eat, Malachi Starks is hungry. Every time you see the ball in the air, it's either him or Christopher Smith. Those two are ball hawking out there. Ball hawk. For those of you that don't understand what a ball hawk is, you ever watch a hawk try to catch its prey? It doesn't matter which way its prey goes. The hawk is right there. It's got it right. There's a really bad impersonation of a hawk, but you get the idea. I know some of you watch National Geographic. There we go. There's the theme music right there. I still remember watching that on Saturdays. But yeah, those guys are ball hawking out there. And every time there was a pass broken up, it was either Malachi Starks or Christopher Smith. And guess what? The hero of the national championship, Mr. Keely Ringo, was right behind him. But Malachi Starks coming up with that big interception to shut down a drive that had some momentum going with it. But we're going to come back to what you talked about with Stetson Bennett and his 64-yard scamper. We've seen a lot. For those of you that don't follow, we follow because we do this and we try and keep our ears to the ground and do research in addition to watching the games and looking up the stats and following on stories that follow our team. There is a lot of hate for Stetson Bennett.
Criticism.
The criticism is crazy. You would think that Georgia has not won a game in several seasons. You would think that Georgia is finishing dead last in the East every year. You would think that Georgia is being eliminated from even bowl contention after week 4 of the season, which we know is mathematically impossible because now all you got to do is win 6 games. I think that's a little bit of a participation trophy because all the people are spending all the money to get the bowl games to make the money. But that's just my 2 cents. Who am I to come up with a conspiracy theory? C-O-N-spiracy. There you go. Another tagline there from In Living Color. It's a conspiracy. C-O-N-spiracy. Anyway, so it's like, listen, and this is to all of you fans out there that are on all of these groups, that are in all these groups, that are sitting behind your keyboard. And don't get me wrong, as a fan, yes, you have every right to voice your opinion about whatever it is that you think about the squad. But the reality of the situation is this. As of today, October 10th, 2022, at 7:24 p.m. Central, 8:24 p.m. Eastern, the time zone that our beloved dogs live and breathe and practice in every single day until Saturday when they go to take the field. The dogs are currently 18-0 in the regular season since the start of last season. And if you add in the championship game and the playoff game and the conference championship game, they are 20-1 in their last 21 games. And the biggest criticism is, they're not beating people up like this. We got to be dominant. We're not dominant enough, and we're not beating them up. Collin and I talked about this before, and people talk about, the UGA, the 1980 UGA team was uber dominant. I mean, they just crushed everybody they ran. This is how I know you guys. This is how I know some of y'all are bandwagon fans, okay? Yep. And I looked this up to make sure that I did not misspeak. The last team for University of Georgia football to win was the 1980 squad. Yeah, Buck Ballou, Run Lindsey Run, Larry Munson. Oh my gosh, I think I broke my chair. The metal chair was bonded to the floor and I broke it. Listen, the Herschel Walker. Oh my God, a freshman. Those guys.
I think most people know that, but you go ahead and finish. I'm interested in what you pulled up and just tell them who we played and that kind of
thing. Now here's what I'm going to give you. These are the scores from the 1980 season, championship season of the University of Georgia Bulldogs. They beat Tennessee in the season opener by 1 point. They beat Texas A&M 42-0. They beat Clemson 20-16. They beat Texas Christian 34-3. They beat Ole Miss 28-21. They beat Vanderbilt 41-0. They beat Kentucky 27-0. They beat South Carolina. Yes, that's South Carolina. 13-10. They beat Florida 26-21. They beat Auburn 31-21. They beat Georgia Tech 38-20. And they beat Notre Dame in the national championship 17-10. So I think we counted that out, and that was a 12-game season, right, Collin?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We counted that out, and that was a 12-game season. Of 12 games, Georgia won 6 of those games, half the schedule, by a touchdown or less. Georgia Tech, who hasn't been relevant in anything other than academics football-wise, except for that one couple of years that they were really good, they did a co-championship. I think it was 91 or 92. They still let Georgia Tech score 20 points on them. This team was not dominant. This was a team that got in the trenches and they dug and they fought and they scratched. As a matter of fact, the Florida game was won with the Lindsey run play. That was the play that won the game. They were tied. No, they were trailing.
Wasn't that when the band was on the field and they were running? I mean, I think that was like they were already trying to. I think it was over.
No. You think about that game out in that was a UCLA. And
I thought it was similar though. I don't think they were on the field. But yeah, I mean, I know that game. I just thought there was something similar. To that
I don't remember all of that. All I remember is hearing, because I didn't see that game then. Because remember, we didn't have back then. The cable was not everywhere, so I had to listen to that one on the radio. But I remember listening. Lindsey Scott. I'll never forget that. Never, ever. I mean, they were trailing Florida. And guess what? This year, the Dogs were trailing. 2 weeks ago, they were trailing Missouri, and they won.
Yeah, came back.
2 weeks ago, they weren't trailing Kent State, but Kent State was putting up points on them. A team, much like Georgia Tech, that shouldn't have been allowed to have scored as many points as they did, but they won. They are still winning. We have a national championship team that lost 15 players to the NFL draft. We are still undefeated right now. We're still in the running, and as of right now, it's still the number 1 team in the country. See, some of these this is how you can tell the bandwagon fans. The bandwagon fans came along during the Mark Richt years when they were winning 10 games a year, and they were winning 11 games a year, and maybe close to 12. I don't think we ever won all 12, but when they were winning 10, 11 games a year and playing in the SEC championship every other year, and think that the team deserves to be in the championship every other year. That ain't how this works. I was there in 1980, and there was not another. If you think that we got it bad now, I would love to jump in the DeLorean with you and take a trip back to 1989 and 1990 when Ray Goff was the coach.
Oh, yeah. And Donnan. I mean, like Donnan and Goff. Yeah.
It was horrible. Okay. These are the kind of fans that can't tell you who won championships besides Vince Dooley and without looking it up on Wikipedia, besides Vince Dooley and Kirby Smart. These are fans that can't tell you who our other Heisman Trophy winner was other than Herschel Walker. Flatfoot Frankie Sinkwich, by the way, for those of you that are rushing to your Wikipedia to check out.
So I mean, it's like we just talked about. It's like right now we won a national championship last year. We got a target on our back. From here on going out, beginning of this season, I mean, to me, honestly, only thing that matters is a W. No matter how much you win by, how many, it does not matter. As long as you win that game, make it to the national championship. I mean, it's going to get hard. Like we said before, we're going to get everybody's best game.
Right. The true sign of a champion. Here's the true sign of a champion. See, last year, we just beat everybody upside the head, except for Alabama in the SEC championship game. They weren't. Nobody expected us to be that good last year. This year, they're coming in as a champion. You know what the sign of a champion is? A champion is somebody that can take the absolute best that somebody give you and keep moving forward. Rocky Balboa says it's not how hard you can hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's about how much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. It's not, you don't get to beat everybody up all the time. It don't work like that. Mike Tyson was the greatest. Mike Tyson, probably the greatest heavyweight boxer to come along in the last 30 or 40 years. And I know some of y'all are saying Deontay Wilder and other stuff like that. Mike would have ate Deontay for breakfast. But and Mike at his prime and Deontay at his prime, I'm telling you, Mike would get you with that 2-piece, ribs, jaw, done every time. And it was fast too, and still fast at 60 something. But Mike Tyson got beat by Buster Douglas, came back, got beat by Buster Douglas, went to jail, came back and was knocking heads. Muhammad Ali lost and regained the championship, the heavyweight championship, not once, not twice, but 3 times. I'm so pretty. I'm 23 years old, ain't got a mark on my face. That is the true sign of a champion. Not somebody that can come, not somebody to come out and beat everybody up all the time. Yes, that's great if you're a fan of that team. This is what I look for in a championship team. The Georgia teams that came before, even with Mark Richt, after Vince Dooley, the Georgia teams that came along, they would give somebody the lead and they couldn't figure out a way to dig it out. How many times have we seen Mark Richt go to the SEC championship game and lose to Alabama because they couldn't come back? How many times did we see Jim Noonan just roll over and play dead, or Ray Goff just not, him and his squad just not even show up in the stands for the games?
That's what I look for. I look for the wins, but I also look for the fight. I look for the fight if we get an adversity. I mean, you hear these players and coaches, fight through adversity. This fight. I mean, you kind of think that's kind of like just jargon that they throw out there, but that's the real deal. I mean, the sign of a really good football team is when they get faced with adversity, how they come back. They don't have to beat people by 20, 30 points to get recognized or get their respect. Respect is being down, 14, 21 points, whatever, what have you, and being able to come back from that against a really good football team, But that's what I look for.
Yes, and this is what I'm gonna say this, and I'm about to make a lot of people mad. Skip Bayless, I'm gonna make a lot of people mad when I say this. There was a young boy came to the University of Georgia campus, and he asked the coach if he could try out. And he signed up, and they said, yes, you could try out. And they said he didn't make the squad. I can't do the Shannon Sharp thing the whole time because I really want to be serious with this. And he didn't make the team. And you know what? He could have taken his ball and gone home to wherever the hell he was from and never played football again. But that boy had a dream to play football for the squad that he loved, the squad that he grew up listening to on the radio and watching on the television. And so he went to a junior college and he worked. He didn't say, I'm going to take my talents someplace else and go play someplace else and transfer. He went to a junior college and played. He came back. He tried out as a walk-on. He made the squad. I think he was a third stringer because it was Jake Fromm, it was JT Daniels, and then it was Stetson Bennett. And I remember when me and you would watch them games and Stetson would get in the garbage time, it's like, oh, this Bennett kid's going to be trouble. But then when it came time for Fromm to move on, we went to JT Daniels, and JT got hurt. And it's like, oh, my God, we hate this guy. We don't like Stetson Bennett. We want to see JT Daniels play. We don't always get what we want. Sometimes the things you want come in a package you don't look for it in.
Exactly.
That boy worked from nothing to becoming the starting quarterback of the team that he led all the way. Yes, there was a defense there. I've heard it 100 times, but the offense still had to score points too. And he led the team to score points. He led that team from point A to point B, which was standing on the stand. Last time I checked, he was standing there holding that trophy. It's not like they lost the game and went home with the consolation prize. A pat on the back, and we'll get a pat on the back, and we'll get them the next time.
It's not saying he didn't make mistakes, but it was what he did after those mistakes that speaks volumes about the kid. Like I mean, look at the national championship. Obviously he had a horrible game at the SEC championship, but the national championship, like you said, he could have taken his coach, get me out, and after the first fumble, get me out. I can't, or it could have gone vice versa. But what did he do?
He could have pulled a Spencer Rattler. I'm gonna take my ball and go someplace else and go to South Carolina, and I'm gonna still suck. He said, no, I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna get better because damn it, I want to play for University of Georgia, and that's what I'm here for. And I want to win a national championship. And he won a national championship. And last time I checked, as of right now, the team is undefeated. Now, do I think he's a Heisman Trophy candidate for those people that have gone all the way on the other side of the spectrum? Absolutely not. Stetson Bennett will probably, if he goes in the draft, will probably be a 4th or 5th round draft that will be on the practice squad. And you know what? I'm all right with that. Hell, he might graduate and say, Coach, I had a great time. Thank you for letting me play and be a part of this. I won a national championship ring. He will get on his horse and ride off into the sunset singing Happy Trails like Roy Rogers used to do back in the day. I know I'm dating myself because I know about Roy Rogers, but I'm just saying. And he will ride off, and you know what? He will ride off into the sunset with a championship ring, a champion who won a championship at the University of Georgia as their starting quarterback. There are only 2 men that have done that in my lifetime and 3 in the last century. He is in a club of exclusivity. It does not make him the world's greatest quarterback.
No,
Brad Johnson was a Brad Johnson was a good quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I had to hit the horn because I couldn't get to the thing too quick. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he wasn't the greatest quarterback in the world. He got a Super Bowl ring. Mark Brunell was not a great quarterback. He was so in Washington. He was the second string clipboard holder in the New Orleans Saints. He got a Lombardi. What's his nuts that played with the 90-something Ravens? I think it was Trent Dilfer. He was not a great quarterback. He got a ring.
But the thing with me though is like all the criticism, all the stuff, and if you and I sitting here right now talking about the things that he's done well, automatically labeled as a Disney dog, automatically labeled as a stepson rider, this kind of with this, that, and the other. No, I mean, and you said it. He did not single-handedly win us the national championship. We've said that.
Amen. Say that.
Anybody in their right mind does not believe that. It's a team sport. We had a great defense. He did make some. He made some incredible plays with his feet and his arm to the passes, whatever. Granted, we had to have good receivers to haul them in. Yes, it was a full circle team effort. Nobody's ever said that he was God's gift to football and touts himself to be that. That's what irritates me the most. Is you get these people on Facebook just these keyboard warriors talking about success, and he might as well not even been on the field. You got to give the boys props. I'm not saying he's like I said, guys get the football, that's all. Greatest player ever.
That is all. Nobody is riding on the man's. Nobody's riding the man's back. I don't want to say what I want to say, but I ain't gonna say that on the show. Right. Ain't nobody riding on that man like that. Ain't nobody loving on him like that. I am a fan, and I still think I'm a fan, and he is far from the best quarterback in college football right now. Right now, I said it. The best quarterback in the FBS is C.J. Stroud. Boom. Sure. And might be closely followed by Bryce Young. But what I'm trying to tell you is just give the man his respect. Stop dogging him out every time he makes a bad play. Tom Brady threw plenty of interceptions. Tom Brady played football longer than some of these kids. In high school is getting ready to go to college have been on the face of the planet. You think Tom Brady didn't throw an interception? You think Tom Brady didn't have a bad read? You think Tom Brady didn't miss a snap count and fumble a ball or get sacked? You think? And that man got 7 Super Bowl rings.
Right. Exactly.
Now I'm not putting Stetson in the same room with Tom Brady. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the man has worked hard to get where he is, and with a little luck and a lot of skill, the Georgia Dogs will make a run for the SEC championship and potentially another national championship. Y'all just can't let the man live at all. Just because you don't like him. Oh well, the man won a national championship, and people say, "Oh, well, he still threw that bad pass." You can't even enjoy the fact that that's the thing I hate. You ever met somebody, and they got everything in life, and they are not happy. Oh dog, that's a nice car. You got the brand new Range Rover that ain't even out yet. Yeah, man. It ain't the color I wanted. They didn't have the leather seats in the surround sound system. Hey, man. You got this gorgeous house. Yeah, but I can't get the designers to come out, and we don't get cable out here. Hey, man, I heard you with the friends. Yeah, but I didn't get to see the Notre Dame Cathedral because when I got there, it burned down. Can't you ever stop and enjoy something in life ever?
Exactly. I keep telling people.
You know what? Wait, hold on. You know what these folks remind me of? These folks remind me of Slep Rock. From Slep Rock. For those of y'all that don't understand who Slep Rock is, and I'm dating myself, it was a cartoon back in the day called the Flintstones. They had an offshoot where Pebbles and Bam Bam grew up, and they was teenagers, and they had a friend called Slep Rock. And every time they saw Slep Rock, they was like, He was like, "Hi everybody," and they went, "Hi Slap Rock," because Slap Rock he just seemed like a sad sack all the time. That and bad luck happened whenever he seemed to be around, but he just never seemed to be happy with nothing. He just seemed to be like, "Eh." Like
Yeah.
Droopy. You know what? I'm happy.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm dating myself today. I got to get myself some updates. These folks are want a Droopy dog. Roy
No,
Rogers,
I'm saying, dude,
Slap Rock.
it's
That's
got to be
all I'm
so
saying.
tired. It's got to be so
All I'm
tiring,
saying.
so tiring getting up being that negative every day. You know what I'm saying?
All
It's got to be that taxing. You know what I mean?
all
Takes
I'm
too much
saying is, all I'm saying, the Birdman said it best a few years ago. Put some respect on that man name. I ain't saying you got to bow down and kiss his feet or nothing like that when he come
No.
around, but the man, that man did more because most of us, let's be real, most of us will quit if this obstacle is put in front of our face. 100. If you got a goal you
Oh.
trying to achieve and you can't get straight to it, you will give it. Look, it's an old saying, it's an old joke. If at first you don't succeed, give up and try something else. Most of the
That's
folks
right.
that are doing the complaining are the same folks that will be like, oh my God, I can't believe I got this job. Then get on the job and be like, no, this job too hard. I'm gonna find me something else. That's the thing that gets me about that. It's like, yo, the man didn't give up. He got there.
Yeah.
He got to the top.
Yeah.
He got to the mountaintop. And y'all can't even give him the respect. That's all I'm saying. I'm not riding this jock strap. I'm
No.
not. That's the word I was looking for. I started to say something else. I'm not riding the man jock strap or nothing like that. All I'm saying is you can't give that man his just due just because he's not the quarterback you wanted. Just because he wasn't JT Daniels. Just because he was just like y'all did with Jake Fromm and Jacob Eason. Just like you did with Jake Fromm and Jake Fromm and Justin Fields. And somebody talking about Justin Fields gonna be a future Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe if he get traded to another team, but not where he at right now. I'm just saying. And that's the perfect example. Justin Fields was like, well, I don't want to wait to play. I'm going to go someplace else to play. And guess what? He wound up getting drafted by the Chicago Bears. How did that turn out for you, sir? Just saying.
Yeah.
You could have hung around and got drafted someplace else.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, it's always he can't do nothing right. It seems like it's just like he throws too many screen passes. He can't throw the ball 60 yards. He threw the ball undershot this guy. I mean, people make mistakes. You know what I mean? But to take the good with the bad, and you can't even give props with the good. You know, you're always looking at the bad, the negative. Like I said, it's got to be taxing and tiring as hell to wake up that every morning just being that negative. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, you know what? We look at the same team that you guys look at every single Saturday, and we say, well, got to tighten up those arm tackles. Got to tighten up on the secondary. Got to cut back. Got to cut back. I mean, realistic stuff. We got to cut back on the mistakes on defense. Got to cut back on the mistakes on offense. Got to run the ball a little better. Got to pass the ball a little better. But we are not taking the time to throw people under the bus just because we don't like them. And that's the thing that's the bandwagon fans that came along the last 20 years or so because they want to win all the time, but they want to win with the person that they want to win. And I think for me, I don't know about Bama fans, but the one thing I know about Bama fans, Bryce got hurt, Milrose came in. They love for Bryce to play, but Milrose made some mistakes, but Milrose won that game. They loving Milrose in Tuscaloosa right now. Because he won the game last week. He brought the win home last week. He won a game this week. And if he play again this week, he'll probably pull another one in. And they'll love on him some more. But us Georgia fans, oh my God, we just picking apart everybody. Shoot, last year, 2 years ago, folks wanted Kirby Smart fired.
Well, they still do. Some of them still want him because they won't get rid of Stetson. They won't pull Stetson.
I've been saying for the longest time, trust the process. If we see that the process has gotten to the point that it doesn't work anymore, then yeah, maybe we need to look at some other options. But I'm still not going to throw him up under the bus. Say, hey, look, that man won us a national championship.
Especially right in the middle of the season, like six games in the middle of the season, going to switch quarterback. Nah, ain't time yet.
That is the dumb look. That is the dumbest thing I ever heard before in my life, Skip Bayless. You just want to look in the middle of everything working. I got nothing.
Yeah. I'm with you.
I got nothing. He worked his way from a walk-on who didn't make the field and walk-on that didn't even make the team to now the captain of the team who now has a championship ring. And that's all I really got to say about that anymore. I'm gonna move
Yeah,
on
I
because
mean, let the man deliver his mail, leave him the hell alone.
Listen. You got your perfect analogy for it right there, Skip Bayless. You know what? But you know what I used to do before I moved to Oklahoma, Skip? I used to work for the post office. I was a karaoke DJ one time. They used to call me Mr. Fingaz. That's where I got the name from right there because I play the piano. I play that piano. Boy, I get on that piano and he said, I'm easy like Sunday morning. And sometimes somebody come and play the harmonica while I play the piano, man. I never really did that, but that sounds real good, like part of the story. But you know what, Skip Bayless? I was a mailman. And you know the thing that I used to hate the most? When the customers used to stop me and talk to me for 15, 20 minutes. Not that I didn't enjoy talking to each and every one of my customers, and any one of you is watching. Love and miss you dearly. I appreciate everything you ever done for me. But sometimes I'll be running a little bit behind schedule, and your boy didn't have time to stick around and talk about why your Amazon package didn't come, because clearly it's not in my truck. And so that means that it's either not here or it's going to come tomorrow. One of the two. And so let me go. That was my whole thing. I got to get moving. You know why? Because I still got mail to be delivered. Neither rain, nor sleet, nor snow, nor darker night will keep the whatever the thing said about the keeping the mail. But yeah, whatever. The mail people's going to deliver the mail. And that was my whole point, was let me go so I can go deliver the mail. Let the mailman deliver the mail. That's what I'm trying to say today, Skip Bayless. I mean, I come here to put that out. And now to all of y'all that are down there around there hating on Stetson Bennett, you know what? I came up from nothing. I was a little poor boy. I played in a very small school in a very small city, and a lot of people said that I never would have made the league. And now I have a gold jacket and a couple of Super Bowl rings to go with it. And that was for people that there was people that said that I was not going to be anything, or I was not going to make anything of myself as a result of being where I come from and playing where I played. I was never making it in the league. You know what my coach Bill Davis, he looked me right in the face and he said, son, if they want to find you, they'll find you. So you know what? Let Stetson do what Stetson do. And if it don't work and we lose, we lose.
Hey, you were right for once. How about that? Then you get
No,
to,
it ain't even about being right. It's about you can't win all the time. Because if it was meant for being
them, bro.
Nah, I'm not even trying to give them that kind of credit, man. Look here. Let's go and move to the next segment. I done gave these people 25 minutes of my time. We done run 6 minutes over the show when we were supposed to keep it in. We've been doing good keeping the show under an hour, and I done gone 6 minutes over fussing at these doggone people. I can feel my blood pressure going up. I'm going to have to take 2 pills when I get off this show right here. All right, we're going to move in to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen. Having said that, thank you so much for letting me do what I do, man. I appreciate you, man. That Shannon Sharp came out, boy. He was trying. I tried to hold it back, but I couldn't hold it back no more. The 2-minute warning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Well, stop laughing at me.
I'm laughing at the whole situation, bro.
Oh man, it's freaking hilarious. So this is the part of the show where we just share a little something with you. It could be inspirational, it could be funny, it might be a little touching. Sometimes it could be a little sad. I talked for about 15 of the last 20 minutes of the show, so I'm gonna let you go first on the 2-minute warning, sir. While I drink some water and replenish my spit glands because I talked my mouth dry.
Wipe off your screen. Hey, just want to. I guess mine would be like at this time, my folks are actually. I've been actually babysitting their car here. They drove up here to see me and my boy, and they actually took a flight over to Germany. They've been in Germany for the last 2 weeks, and so we have family over there and everything. And my mother's been sightseeing, and I mean like the village that my grandmother grew up in. She grew up in. My mother was born in Germany over there, so she's been sending out pictures and that kind of stuff. And man, it's beautiful, like architecture, churches, and all kind of buildings, the cobblestone, all that kind of stuff. It's beautiful. So I implore anybody. I mean, all you guys to kind of dig into your history, because I mean you never know what you'll find. I've got several things that my grandmother, obviously she was on the German side, and my grandfather, her husband, was actually on the in the U.S. Service, during World War II. So. And he brought her over here, so I got to hear the story. My father's father was actually, in World War II as well. So I got 2 stories. I got, it's very interesting stuff. It would be too long for me to kind of explain it right now, but just I implore you to dig into your history a little bit, because you never know what you'll find out. Some good, some bad, some sad, but all in all, just it's great to find out where you come from and the family that you met.
100%, because I know where my father's first ancestor set foot in
Yeah.
Sapelo Island is where my father's family is from, and Sapelo Island was actually a slave settlement where slavery existed at that time.
Of course, of course.
Sapelo Island was a slave settlement that was and the big man on campus, as it were, was a man named Alan Spaulding, and my 7 times removed grandfather, my great 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 grandfather, Balali Muhammad, got off the boat at Sapelo Island, and generation to generation led to the birth of my paternal great grandfather, Anthony Handy, also named Anthony Handy, who they called Brett Tenney, because it was, with the Geechee accent, it was Anthony, which became Brett Tenney. And he and his wife, he married Anna Walker. They gave birth to my grandfather, Jack Sr., who moved to the mainland, settled in Savannah, and had 4 children, one of whom turned out to be my father. So I can trace my history all the way that far back, and even farther back, that we come from the Fulani tribe in West Africa. I know this stuff. Like, a lot of people don't know where they come from. I am proud to be able to say that I know exactly where I come from in the regions and all of that. And I would love to make a trip. I don't know if it's a safe area to visit, because I know that a lot of it is torn by warlords and things like that. But I would love to get on a plane and go to Africa and visit, because forget what you heard about everybody living in the jungle and all of that. There are many, many parts of Africa that are absolutely gorgeous, and I want to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. My mom actually got into that ancestry tree stuff, and she's got it mapped out, like where we came from, that kind of stuff. And my mom's I guess my grandmother's brother was a POW. Like, I mean, you hear about Hitler and all that kind of stuff. All those people didn't want to follow him. Like, I mean, he ended up being a POW. Like, he didn't want to serve under Hitler and that kind of stuff. But you hear that kind of stuff, and hear the stories and read about it and what have you. And I mean, as sad as it may be, honestly, it's just horrible. But I mean, they moved over here to get away from that kind of stuff. But now that it's obviously calmed down a little bit, but the historic, cities and stuff are still mostly intact, and so it's really neat to see the kind of architecture. And then again, I've got family in France, so I mean, like, they go over there, then they go to see family in France, and we didn't know we had it. My mom, found in ancestry tree also. So the Pashu name, my last name, P-A-S-S-I-U, was actually French, and it came from over there.
I could have told you that.
You knew it French, but I mean,
I on the end. Monsieur Pashu.
As far as I go, it's Parlez-vous French. How about
that? Parlez-vous Big Mac. Parlez-vous Big Mac. Sprechen Sie taco.
Yeah, no, I can understand Germany, but I can't speak it. But I can understand just by growing up with it. But anyway, no, that's what I'm saying, man. And everybody's got some horrible things, but I mean, the history, some of the stuff is amazing. But
yeah, 100%. Well, I'm going to give you my 2-minute warning. My 2-minute warning is, gosh, we've been coming up with some good ones lately. I don't know. I've talked about health and family and chasing dreams and things like that. My 2-minute warning today is, I just want to thank all of you that have been tuning in. We ebb and flow. The crowd grows and shrinks from time to time as to who's watching the lives. But I see the numbers on the YouTube pages, the ones that get the big views and things like that. And we appreciate you guys. Whether you tune in for 5 minutes or you watch or you sit down like like the Godfather Sean and rewatch the show 3, 4, 5 times in succession. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. Those of you that have bought gear from the apparel shop, those of you that have bought swag from the swag shop, those of you that have even purchased my music or at least given it a listen. Appreciate you guys, all of you, and we do appreciate all of the love and all of the support. and we look forward to we look forward to growing this family together as part of the Let's Talk Football family. And if you like what you're seeing, when you see us pop up, hit the share button and let people know, hey guys, come check this out. Now, hey, come check this out. These guys are talking UGA football. We got UGA fans, especially those of you watching from the great state of Georgia. Go Dogs! Appreciate you. Fans from
And bring,
others.
bring your thoughts too. Bring your thoughts and comments.
Bring your thoughts and comments to the comment section. 100%. Whether you put them down now, whether you write them out now, or whether you put them in the comment section after the show's over. I check for those things. I will swing back around and answer your questions if you got questions. 100%. Either Collin and I, or I definitely will. Collin seems to have more free time than I do during the day because Collin's latest hobby is trolling the trolls in the trolling the trolls in the group.
It's so easy though.
Hey man, you better be careful. Folks know how to pull up your name, your social security number, your address, and everything, and put you out on the.
They ain't gonna get nothing. You can't get blood from a turtle, dude. It's all good.
I'm just saying. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we do want to thank you all for tuning in to this week's edition of This Week in UGA Football. The football traditions will return this week. I took a little break from that this past week. Had a lot of stuff going on at work, but that'll be back. So on behalf of myself, Mr. Fingaz from Zagnif Central, my co-host, Collin P. from the DMV talking SEC on a Monday with me on your TV so you can see how we be in SANFORD. That's it. That's all I got. So I had something and I got stuck. So my computer screen did not freeze. That was just my brain just went, that's enough. Stop. So, when Vanilla Ice said, all right, stop, collaborate, and listen, I did all three at the same time. There's a 1990s throwback for those of y'all that don't know.
Oh my God!
I'm throwing out all these cultural references, man. I feel so old. Anyway, on behalf of myself and Collin P, we will see you guys again later this week. We'll more than likely we'll figure that out after we get off the show in the green room. But have a good evening. If we don't see you again, have a great rest of your week. And
absolutely,
as always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.